You know, the number one reason people don't exercise, it's hard. you know, or to quit eating so much, it's hard. Or to quit drinking, it's hard. And to have a hard conversation with somebody not performing, that's hard. And when you do the hard things, life gets easier. But if you go down the easy route, you pay for it eventually.
Have you ever found yourself paralyzed by the fear of change? Well, what if you could turn those doubts into opportunities for growth? In this episode, I sit down with Lee Cockerell, who's a former Executive Vice President of Operations at Walt Disney World with decades of experience in leadership and innovation. We dive deep into how you can stop fearing change and start embracing new opportunities that come your way. Welcome to Move Your Mind, where we uncover why you are holding yourself back from getting the life you want and what to do about it, with the help from high-achieving guests and experts in behavioural science, personal development, and the health and wellness space. Join us if you're ready to move out of your own way toward your ideal self. I'm your host, Nick Brax, and I've been working in the health and wellness space for the last 15 years, helping people find direction and gain the courage to take control of their life. My mission is simple: to help you learn everything that I wish I knew so you can become your ideal self. Lacking guidance, I spent the majority of my youth feeling lost and disempowered, which led to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and substance abuse. Looking back, I didn't have the vocabulary to communicate what I was experiencing. And as a man, I didn't resonate with the emotional language used in traditional therapy. I didn't need to talk about my feelings. I needed tangible solutions to guide me toward building a life I was proud of. If you can relate, then this podcast is for you. In this episode, we discuss how to stop fearing change and start embracing new opportunities. If you're ready to take action and build a stronger mindset, then keep listening. Lee, so great to meet you. Thank you for making the time to come on the podcast.
Yeah, great. I wish I was in New York with you.
Yeah. Although you're saying you're in Orlando, you probably got slightly warmer weather where you are.
It's almost 90 degrees today. It's getting too hot. My air conditioner bill is skyrocketing.
For this time of the year, it's already that warm. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's like Australian weather right now, where you are.
Did I tell you my son moved to Australia?
Oh, you did. Did you say Sydney is where he moved?
He lives in Sydney, and he's on his way here now. I'll see him tomorrow. And then they go back in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, they're enjoying it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I mean, Sydney's a beautiful city. I'm from Melbourne, so there's a rivalry between Melbourne and Sydney.
Exactly. I've been to both places. I did some work for Kmart and for Target Australia a few times.
Oh, wow.
Some training over there. Yeah.
Yeah, and how did you find it? Did you like Melbourne?
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a good time. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Well, we might just jump in by asking if you can give me a bit of a background on yourself and how you came to be where you are now. And just a bit of your history.
Yeah, it surprised me. I grew up in Oklahoma on a little dairy farm. We were just as poor as could be. We didn't have anything. We didn't even have an indoor plumbing. We had the old outhouse, and it was kind of dysfunctional over the time, although not too bad. My mother was married 5 times, so it was a little chaotic. And I was adopted twice. I got my name Cockerell when I was 16 by husband number 4. So I've had 3 names since I was born. And but she married a doctor eventually, and Dr. Cockerell, and he had money, so I got to go to college. And I went for 2 years and flunked out because I never went to class. I was not a good student. And in those days, I came back from working at Lake Tahoe, Nevada, and had to go in the Army because you're either back in the 65, you're either in the Army or in college. I mean, or getting drafted. So I joined the Army Reserves, met a guy there from the UK, and he asked me if I wanted to go to Washington, D.C. with him after we got out of the Army. I said, okay. I'd never been anywhere, never been out of Oklahoma in my life. I was 20 years old, knew nothing. So we just went, and I got a job at the Washington Hilton That's up there where Reagan got shot back in '81. And they gave me a job as a banquet waiter, which I had no idea what it was, but somebody took me by the hand and trained me. And I tried to be the best little waiter they ever had. Since I didn't have a college degree, I thought that might help. So I tell people today two things that help me were I have a good attitude and I'm very reliable. And those two things alone, I think, are probably the key to most people's success, because you learn the other stuff as you go, whatever you need to learn. And stayed with Hilton 8 years. I worked in Washington, met my wife there. We got married, moved to Chicago, then to New York to the Waldorf Astoria for 3 years, and then up to Tarrytown, New York, up north of Manhattan, and then to Los Angeles. And then I left. I joined a small company for a short time. Then I joined Marriott. I was there for 17 years. I became the vice president of food and beverage planning for the whole company worldwide. And people say, "How'd you do that?" I said, I had become an expert in the food business. I'd worked in banquets and restaurants and finance and accounting, and I think the good lesson there is people want to know what you can do for them. And that was my specialty. So I kept getting promoted, and we moved from when I joined Marriott in Philadelphia, then we went to Chicago, and then to Washington, D.C., and then the Boston area. Then I got recruited by Disney in 1990 to go to France and open Disneyland Paris. So we went to France and spent 3 years, and I came back. I was put in charge of all hotel operations at Walt Disney World, and then later I was promoted to be in charge of all the operations at Disney World, and I did that for 10 years. And then I retired when I was 62, and now I do this. I talk about it.
Wow. I mean, what a journey. That's hard to keep up with all the different things that you've done and places you've lived. But I love that message that you're saying there about that your attitude and so you're saying, what's that, sorry?
Reliability,
Yeah.
that's where people trust you. When you're reliable,
Yeah.
you do what you say you're going to do. I
Yeah.
met my wife there. We've been married 55 years, and I have one son. He's gone off to live in Sydney. He's 55, and I have 3 grandkids. Are half French because my son married a French lady, and while we were in Paris after he got out of college, and life's been good. I mean, I tell people the hospitality business is booming. It's going to get bigger because people are traveling all over the world, and there's always jobs, and you can move up in those jobs if you have the right. Emotionally, you can handle dealing with the stress of customers all day long. I mean, and especially in high-end places, customers get more and more difficult sometimes. But it was good, and now I have a consulting business. I've written 4 books, and it's turned out pretty good.
So it sounds like you're not slowing down with the work you're doing now.
That people ask me why I do that, and I said, it's kind of my golf game. I enjoy it. I enjoy teaching, and that's what I do. I do a lot of all over the world. And I have 5 Brazilian groups this month that are coming
Wow.
here, and after all those years, I know something. And I worked for really good companies, Hilton, Marriott, and Disney. So it gives you a lot of credibility, and people want to know how. And I think I've learned some good lessons on how to be a better manager, how to be a better leader, how to treat people. And a lot of people need to hear that, because some people think when you're in charge, you're just there to boss people around, and that's about the furthest from the truth. I said you're there to teach them and to build trust with them so they don't quit and leave you, because you probably know less than they do about everything that's going on in the company. And so that's good. I love teaching. And somebody said, "Why do you do this?" I said, "Because people clap and I'm insecure." So, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
There's not most of your satisfaction in your life will be when somebody comes back to you and says, "Thanks for what you did for me." I mean,
it's so
literally,
true.
that is really the name of the game. And we don't know that when we're young. We think it's about the money and the stock options and company cars and being a big deal. But that turns out not to be the right answer.
Yeah, it's a great message. It's true, and I think that like you're saying there, you love what you're doing, and that's why you're still working, doing
Yeah,
your consulting, building this organization. But I think that keeps you young as well, because I think the mindset that we should just, get to a certain age and just stop working. I think then what do you do? We need to have a purpose and a goal and something that we're trying to achieve, I think.
absolutely. And I just turned 80. So I've got,
Well, you look bloody good for 80.
well, I take care of myself. I have a trainer and I watch what I eat and try not to, even I wasn't sleeping well for a long time because in the hotel business, next thing you know, you're drinking a bottle of wine every night. But
Mm.
I gave up alcohol and it changed my energy level dramatically. I mean, I sleep now for 8 hours. It was amazing just what you do to yourself and you think it's good, but I feel so much better now. You know.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I
Oh,
quit alcohol about a year and a bit ago, and have found it's amazing how much just in mood, in sort of energy levels, in, like you're saying, sleep. It really does. Like, you don't realize until you stop how big of a
yeah,
difference
you
it
have a
makes.
different personality. I might stay married now. My wife won't get rid of me.
Same with my girlfriend. I think that made her stay with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
With
helps.
alcohol, you feel good for a couple of hours and then you wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep and all that stuff. So somebody said, "Boy, you must miss it." I said, "I know, I do, but I love red wine, but it's worth it to stop. It's really worth it."
The
Yeah.
positives outweigh the
I
the
quit 7
negatives from it.
I
Yeah,
quit
wow.
and had ghost to a party that had, so it was hard. Finally, I
Yeah.
got over it. I don't know how many days it takes, but then I got there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because it's so embedded in society and everything we do. So it can be
everywhere,
hard.
especially in the hotel business.
I
Yeah.
can imagine you're surrounded by it, I guess, in that work. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be tough.
alcohol and food everywhere you look. And,
So, how one of the issues a lot of our listeners struggle with is overwhelm, and I think it's such a big part of all of us are struggling with that in day to day in this modern society with technology and things changing so fast. How did you manage overwhelm? Because it sounds like you've had enormous pressure on yourself in your career. You've had to probably take on a lot of different demanding roles at once. How do you manage that?
well, in my first probably 20 years, I didn't manage it very well. I was working all the time, taking work home, coming in on Saturdays and Sundays, and trying to get it done. And then next thing you know, you have a wife, and then you have children, and then you got to get to the soccer game, and you got to worry about your retirement and your parents, and it's one thing after another. And your boss wants everything right now. And I went to a time management course about 1980 and learned how to be more disciplined, how to say no to some things, and how to set priorities. And I would say
Hmm.
literally it cut my work week down by 20, 25 hours. I got more organized. I learned how to
Wow.
delegate during that conference, during that seminar I took. I learned that I don't have to say yes to everything. I learned that you got to really, if you do some things, other things don't happen. So you end up with less obstacles in your life. If it's like if you exercise, you don't have to go to the hospital. if you if you tell your wife you love her, she doesn't leave you. So and focus on learning, keep learning, because that's really the main ingredient in your success is to be an expert in something, know something, and learn how to treat people. Which I was not a good leader in the beginning. I was a good manager. I was kind of insecure because I didn't have a college degree, so I was kind of ordering people around and kind of abusing my title. And I finally overcame that when I realized that that's really. First, I knew my mother and grandmother would kill me if they knew I was treating people that way. So, but you can get caught up in corporate life where you start getting the stuff and bonuses and money and you got to really watch your behavior. And I really pulled back and started thinking about my own personal values and treating people better and right. And so I decided we don't need bosses. I wanted to become a teacher, and when you teach, you get better results, and people like you, and people want to work with you, and people learn from you. So I tell all bosses in the world, become a teacher, you'll get better results. And you'll have less stress in your life too, by the way. But
Yeah.
also sleep, exercise, and diet are important. I mean, really, if you want to, you've got to really get your health under control because the stress sets in. Um, and exercise and getting a good night's sleep really relieves a lot of that. And a lot of people don't realize it, that too much sugar in their diet or drinking too much alcohol or,
Mhm.
you know, then you get in a bad mood and have an argument with your wife. And then, I mean, it goes from bad to worse. So you got to really, I'm telling people, you got to take care of yourself before you can take
First
care
and
of me.
foremost.
Before you can take care of anybody else, you got to feel good. You got to get good. You got to set a good example. You got to be a good role model. You've got, even for your children, they're watching, you know. And I had a lot to learn during the early part of my career. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I can imagine in that corporate environment, it would be so difficult to find that balance when you've got so many pressures and you've got demands coming at you, you've got things coming from every angle. It would be very, very hard to maintain that peace of mind and look after yourself within that environment.
Corporate life is demanding, especially when you work for Hilton or Marriott. They want it more, and they want it every day, and they want it now, and they're never happy. And the customers have high expectations coming to Disney. You can imagine, and it's expensive, and the pressure just gets every. We got it. We knew it. We learned at Disney. Everything matters. You got to do everything right. People are paying for it. And they have high expectations, and they don't want to hear about any. You know, I can't tell them Mickey's not here today.
They don't care. They just want results, I guess.
They do, and they should. And I think any high quality business, when you pay more, you should get your money's worth. And a lot of businesses have forgotten that and are not providing that kind of personalized, individualized attention that
Yeah.
is required if you want repeat business. You know, that's the difference. Repeat business is the name of the game. And I always said marketing gets them here once, and operations, we get them back 20 times because we take care of them. And
Yeah.
so you got to really think more deeply. Will people come back? And will they tell their friends and neighbors? You got to go there. Half our business is from just people telling other people. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like your reputation. Everybody knows who you are before you get there. Your reputation gets there first.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's the most important thing, really. Yeah,
and
reputation.
do people trust you? That's all, you know. And
Yeah.
then when
And
there's something goes wrong, are you going to take care of it? You're going to fix it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, like, are you actually behaving in a way according to your values? Because again, that's a thing that I've found through this podcast. We've learned a big portion of our audience are men, and a lot of them find themselves in that struggle where they sort of in their gut know what they care about and how they want to be, but they don't know how to act according to their values because they're feeling immense pressure to make more money, to provide, to do this, to be this person, to put on a front, and it's really tough.
I think that's the biggest problem we have is that people can't overcome their wants.
Yeah,
So they give in to how they treat people. They give in to telling the truth. They get it or stretching the story. And unfortunately, I think you have to go in understanding most people care about themselves. And if you can turn that corner and have the confidence and courage to be yourself and go by trust your values and be really good at what you do, because when you're really good at what you do, you can do both. You can speak up
mm.
because people want you and they keep you and they don't want you to leave. So competence matters. If you're competent, you can be more of yourself probably without fear of losing your job or whatever happens to us when we don't want to stand up for what's right. When you stand up for what's right, that's hard. And that's really hard. And the biggest problem in life, most people don't want to do the hard things. You know,
Yeah,
the number one reason people don't exercise, it's hard. you know, or to quit eating so much, it's hard. Or to quit drinking, it's hard. And to have a hard conversation with somebody not performing. That's hard. And when you do the hard things, life gets easier. But if you go
Yeah.
down the easy route, you pay for it eventually.
Yeah.
And because leadership's about doing the hard things and the right things. And they are at a combination difficult. We always like the easy way. So instead of speaking to somebody about their performance, we just hope it'll get better. That's I
And
hope it doesn't work. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, I'd read, you, I think on another podcast had talked about dealing with anxiety, mental health issues.
I did.
I know for myself, anxiety's been probably my biggest issue. And the more I've become self-aware, when I look at it, it's exactly based normally on what you're talking about there. Whenever I'm feeling this anxiousness, if I stop and think, hang on, what am I not addressing? And it's often the things that I'm scared to do, but then I'll make excuses about why I can't do it. But then as soon as I go and actually do that thing, it goes away.
Absolutely. I guarantee you, I went through depression and anxiety a few years ago. My wife was sick for 2 years and she almost died, and she was in the hospital 64 days. The bill was $700,000. I had insurance, luckily, but it was the stress. First, it went on and on and on and on, and then I couldn't sleep. And then I couldn't sleep. Then I started getting anxiety, and then anxiety leads to depression. And I had to get treated by a psychiatrist for 2 years and take medication. And what I learned going through that, I'm having a little anxiety now because my wife's got some back problems, but I know how to control it now. I mean, I worry a little bit about it, but I can tell you two things. When you got a problem, deal with it. Doesn't matter how hard the solution is, make it go away. And have the hard conversation, do what you got to do, because it'll get worse if you don't deal with it. And uh, that's, and to talk to other people about it. Don't try to keep it to yourself. Talk about it. Hey, tell your friend, you're going through this. I have a lot of conversations about this because the number of people going through anxiety today is huge, and it's a lot of people that are going through it, and maybe your parents or grandparents or people. Uh, we disguise it. Somebody said people don't fake anxiety; they fake that everything's fine.
Yeah.
Kids, everything's fine, Dad. Everything's fine. That's the biggest lie in the world. It's not fine. Everybody's got problems you don't know about. Everybody's got worries, and they affect you emotionally. And boy, I tell you, in my opinion, there's nothing worse than anxiety and depression. Man, that's a dark place. And so I exercise. I eat properly. I took caffeine out of my diet, sugar, alcohol. I don't. We keep. We just kind of play some nice soft music in the evening, and no anxiety. And I feel good, and I'm sleeping through the night now. But I had to get back on track of trying to figure out why is this happening, and so when I have a problem now, I don't care what it is. I'm going to fix it tomorrow morning, and I'm going to go
Yeah.
do that. I'm going to have the talk, or I'm going to hire somebody, or I'm going to do something to make it go away, because I'm not going to suffer because other people are creating anxiety for me. And and with my wife, we talk about it, and that helps. And I tell her
Yes.
what I need to do, and I need to do this or that. And she said, we come up with solutions. And
Yeah.
this is a big thing. It's going worldwide right now, and it's probably worse than it's ever been. So anytime anybody listening can really think about when you feel bad, there's something you can do about it, and you ought to go get help. Go see a psychiatrist. Go see a psychologist, a nutritionist. Get to the gym. Get up every morning. Go outside. Walk. Don't stay isolated. That's the worst thing
Yes.
you can do.
I
Yeah.
think
So
that's,
I've
yeah.
become an expert in this thing. I tell you, that's why I always tell people. They say, "How do you learn?" I say, "Well, you can go to college. You learn there." But how you really learn is experience and
100%.
exposure. Travel the world, know people from other places, exposure and experience.
Oh my
Education, you
God.
forget half of what you learn, but you never forget I'll never forget the experience of going through anxiety and depression. or
Oh my
having
god.
exposure, living in France, going to Russia, going to India. I mean, you can't. That's how you become the expert. Exposure, experience.
Absolutely. I would say
Yeah,
like yeah, I've learned it's not even comparable what I've learnt from failing in businesses and traveling the world and all that stuff compared to what I don't think I ever used my degree at university. It didn't. If I look back on that, that's sort
yeah,
of, the world teaches you so much, and I love
yeah.
that example. Yeah,
And living in New York, you're going to be different when you leave. I mean,
yeah,
that's what I told my granddaughter. Live in a big city, man, because if you stay in your little village back home, nothing will change. And I tell
yeah,
students today, as soon as you graduate, get out of the village. Your mother won't be happy, but that's too bad. Just do it anyway. And then you stay 5 years, and then go live wherever you want. But you will be a new person because you're just going to learn things you didn't even, and especially when you go to New York. I mean, New York is the world. There's
yeah.
there's a person from every country in the world there, and food,
Literally.
and everything. I mean, and then back in my village, there was nothing like that. Back in my little village, there were Christians and white people and hamburgers. I mean, that was it. And I found out the world's bigger than that.
Yeah, absolutely,
And I met
absolutely.
my wife too in Washington, so I got a lot out of it.
That's the thing. You never know how things are going to happen, and that, for me, I was terrified moving to New York, and I was single at the time, and I was all these different things. But then I met my partner when I was living here, and all of these different things happened. If I was sitting there trying to work out how to orchestrate these things beforehand, it wouldn't happen. But I think
No,
you can't really plan too much, can you? You just got to go and do things.
well, somebody said today they were posting something about setting goals, and I said I've never set a goal in my life. I just try to do the best I can, and things work out.
I
You
love
know,
that.
it just works. You will find your spot, or people will find you. Because setting some of these goals people set are absurd. I mean, one lady said, "I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 20." No, just be a great performer, be trusted, be a good person, and life will find you, and you'll be
Yeah.
fine. You'll end up where you should.
And
Yeah.
that's the question I was going to ask you. Do you, it seems like, and you would have seen so many changes in the world over, your time. In this present time, do you think it's a bigger issue than ever that people are having these, the wrong value systems, like you're saying there? I want to become a millionaire. I want to be famous, and maybe losing the work ethic as well, where we sort of people are finding it harder to commit to things because they're thinking, well, I want everything. How do
Yeah,
I?
I think each generation is. I've seen it move toward that.
Yeah,
I when I went back in the, I was born in the '40s, grew up in '40s, '50s, and uh, you worked and you did your job and you were reliable and you were supposed to do what you're supposed to do, and there was kind of a expected route you would take in your life. And today, I worked like a dog, did what my boss said. I didn't push back. Uh, Working 6 days a week sometimes for Hilton, and today kids won't those. There no way. I have three grandkids, 28, 25, and 22. There is no way they're going to have a life. They're willing to work hard and they're really smart, but they're not going to spend their life at the office and working.
yeah,
Yeah, they got to. And I tell people say, "Well, you can't work with them and all that." I said, "Well, you better figure it out because that's all we got," you know. And it is. You just have to adjust. You have to work it out, and a lot of that is people don't. The big bosses don't trust people, so they don't want them working from home. And you can trust people; they'll do the good job.
mm,
That's half the problem. It's usually us. It's not them. Of course, why shouldn't they have a life? Life's short, let me tell you. And I think back about that. I wasn't home a lot for dinner, and did all those things. That was it worth it? Well, it turned out okay for me, but it didn't turn out well for a lot of people. A lot of people work day and night and don't have any life, and don't have any money,
mm,
and don't have any future, and because they get stuck. They get
Yeah.
stuck. I tell people, be careful where you get stuck. In the wrong relationship, in the wrong city, in the wrong job, the wrong boss, and just if get out of there. Don't stay. And I love the kids today. They get up with it. They're living their lives and being successful. And
Yeah.
maybe sometimes the bosses are the problem. You better get to understand who they are. And yeah, I got one grandson in Boston. He's a biomedical engineer. I got my granddaughter in New York. She's in international marketing. I have my other grandsons in France going to hotel school. And my son moved to Sydney. And, this is
That's
great.
great.
People are seeing the world, living the world. And, yeah. And by the way, you get to a certain age, like right now with my wife back, we can't travel. So I'm glad we did. I'm in 45 countries now, and I do work all over the world. But now I'm having to calm that down until we figure out how to take care of her if I were away. And we're so glad we did all of that. We were looking
Yeah.
at some pictures the other night. We did all the right things,
Yeah.
because old age slips up on you. You get old before you expect it.
I mean, time seems to go faster every year the older you get.
It's mind-boggling. It's amazing. It's I said I have a 55-year-old son. Where'd he come from? I mean,
How did that
I have
happen?
had babies in my arm now. They're 28 years old.
And it just seems like it's the click of a finger for you. It just has gone.
It is, and we hear that when we're young, and then we don't pay attention, and then boom. Next thing you turn
Yeah.
around, I think there's only 4 ages. You're born, you're 21, you're 65, and you're dead. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's over. So do your thing,
So
and you can be successful, make money, and be nice to people.
yeah,
It's not impossible.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And so you'd be saying to anyone listening here, if someone's feeling stuck, if someone's not happy, if all of these different things, would the core message sort of be just make that change? Life's too short. Don't make sure you don't have regret, no matter what it means doing. Take action. Change things.
If you want to go through a process, I'll tell you one thing. If you can't sleep, why? If you are unhappy, why? And you've got to admit why. And everybody knows why. They're not happy with their marriage. They're not happy with their boyfriend. They're not happy with their salary, their boss, their job, the city they live in. Everything you're unhappy about can be fixed. But you have to fix it. And that is the problem. I tell people, sit down and have a coffee and write down the 1, 2, or 3 things you're not happy about.
Yeah.
You might have to say, I'm not happy that I don't have a college degree. So go back to college. Go online and get a degree. Every problem you have is your fault.
It's all achievable. And so what would you say to people? Because this is another problem that comes up. I face this as well, and I think most of us do. We might want to make a change, and we're sort of in the process of trying to make that change. I had this happen when I was moving overseas. I had everyone saying to me, "Don't do it, Nick." I built, quite a big profile in Australia. You're going to ruin your career. You're going to ruin your life. Don't do it. You're too old. And I had this thing inside me saying, I have to get out of here. I have to go. So I just went. But a lot of the time in the past, I had been talked out of doing things, and I see so many people that get talked out of doing something they want to do because they're listening to too many people's advice. How can
it's fear? I'm afraid. Anything, all the people are. You think of the things you're afraid of. Public speaking is one people are afraid of. So I was telling my granddaughter that go to speakers. There's a speaker in New York. There's Toastmasters. They meet every Monday night. You can go there for $200 a year, and they start teaching you, and you get better. If it's like if you're sick, go to the doctor. If these are solvable. So what? You come here and it doesn't work. You can go back. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean,
exactly.
Almost every decision you make every day can be reversed. Almost every one of them. Somebody said if you don't like oysters and you eat one, don't eat them again. I mean, do your thing, baby. And 99% of the time it works out, because if you want it to work, it'll work. And you're going to be a different person. If you stay there, you go back to Australia, you're going to be different. People will say you're different. You know things they don't know. You'll come up with solutions. You'll learn things that you don't even know already, that you're going to use to make decisions. And opportunities out there. You just got to run into it, or it'll find you anyway. And that's what I like. We moved 11 times. My wife moved 12 times before she married me. She's moved 23 times in her life. We go anywhere. We don't care. We go where the opportunity is and where the learning is, and where we liked everywhere we lived, frankly. We liked everywhere we lived.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram at NickBrax. I really appreciate your ongoing support. I love that. And I think that's the thing, there's no perfect, is there? It's sort of everywhere you move, it's a new adventure, and that's why you like it. There's no such thing as finding the perfect thing.
As I tell people, I said, I know more than you do. And they say, why? I said, number one, I'm old and I've been around and you haven't. So I've been to all these places in the world. I know. Don't tell me you know about India. Have you been there? Don't tell me you know about Vietnam. Have you been there? Because you can read everything you want in a book, but until you experience it, don't tell me. You don't know. You don't know. And when you know, and then you have more confidence. You enjoy meeting all kinds of people. You're comfortable. You're interesting. Yeah. So that's why you have a girlfriend. You're interesting.
There you go. Needed to go and do a few things to make sure I could stay interesting for her.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my wife and we've been good, because we both, something comes up, we just both go. She's ready to go too, and that partner that's ready to have some adventure is important.
God, that's not easy to find. I don't think you're lucky. You're lucky you found that. I mean, that's what I am lucky with my partner, because I had sort of never been able to find someone who thought the way I do, where I want to be able to not be, everyone else was, no, we have to stay in this one city, do this job, and my girlfriend's similar to what you're saying, where it's like, life's an adventure. Let's make anything work anywhere. Who cares?
And it will.
And that makes life so exciting. Like, then you're like, okay, everything's an adventure.
I quit college. That's why I went in the Army. Then I went to the Washington. And then I got my job at Marriott because I had been at Hilton. Then I got my job at Disney because I had been at Marriott. I mean, all these things are cumulative. You keep adding. It's like a recipe. You keep putting new stuff, get a different taste. And then in my mind, leadership is the yeast that makes you successful. How you treat people, getting things done, delegating, trusting people. People ask me what I did at Disney. I said nothing. I just hired great people and left them alone. And they all knew more than I did about everything they did. Literally. I said I majored in people.
Smart.
Not in engineering or math, but it works. People. In your whole life, every problem you have in your life will be a person. A person. Yeah. So you learn how to deal with that, and tell the truth, and help them, and coach them, and give them perspective. I said my daughter-in-law wrote a book, Manage Like a Mother, and you think about mothers. Mothers they use empathy and discipline. They're tough and they love you, and if you care, and in business, same thing. All people want to know is, do you care about me, or are you using me? And when people know you care about them, they'll do anything for you. Yeah.
That's really the most important thing with leadership, to just be able to understand people and care for them and
And a lot of people are
have
not
their
doing that. And that's why they're getting turnover. They can't find employees. People quit, embezzle, steal. I mean, if you treat people well, they'll hang in there with you. Yeah.
How important is vulnerability, do you think?
I think for me, it's important. I don't mind telling people anything.
Yeah.
I tell them I don't know anything about this or that. I said I've written 4 books and I still don't know where the commas go. my my goal in life is to use a semicolon and know why. I don't care. I do what I do, and I don't mind. I don't know something, but I can tell you today, if you don't know something, you can get your phone out and you can know it. So if you don't know something, it's your own fault.
Mm.
And certainly, I can't be a surgeon overnight, but if you want to know general things that are going on and answers, they're at your fingertips. So, sometimes I'll hear about a country. I didn't even know it was a country. I look it up and 5 million people live there. I'm going like, what? Why didn't I know that? And
Yeah.
somebody said the other day, when you find out how little you know, that's when critical thinking takes over. Because now I better think about things. Tell me and how to. So that
Mm.
because you know. uh, Hi, darling. I'm doing a podcast right now. No problem. I love you. It's my wife. Um, where are you? And by the way, women want to know where you are.
Very true. Very true.
Well, anyway, you just got to think about these things. When you figure out, it's amazing what we don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's incredible. That's why you read a lot and you say, wow, I didn't know that. Next thing you know, I don't know a lot. So when somebody tells me something, I'm going to say, I don't know. I need to figure this out. This doesn't sound right because they don't know anything either. That's the
Yeah.
problem. People tell you things they don't even know the truth. And critical thinking takes over when you have to start thinking it through. Does this make sense? Really?
Mm. And I think that's what we need more of in the world than ever. Critical thinking. That's
Yeah.
just with all the
Tell
craziness
people, I
going
don't
on.
understand this. Explain that to me again. This doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's great to be able to learn about all these different things.
yeah, exactly. And just think about all the stuff we just believe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we find out later that wasn't true. And especially with the internet, I mean, with social sites, I don't believe any of it until I figure it out and confirm it. Uh,
Yes.
I don't any longer easily believe things.
Yeah.
And if you believe the wrong things, you can create a lot of damage for somebody, you know, and yourself.
Enormous. Enormous. Absolutely. Well, Lee, I've loved everything you've talked about here. I think sort of the quote that came to mind when you're talking about all of this is life only makes sense backwards, but must be lived forwards. I think that sort of sums up a lot of what you've been talking about. And it's so true. We have to.
You get smarter when you get old. I guess that's where
Good.
the word wisdom came from.
Yeah.
Now you
More.
know better how to make a decision. Wisdom.
Yeah.
I
Once
tell my grandkids, I'm wise.
comes with experience, life experience that you just can't only
You,
time. That's the thing, isn't it? You
and
can't
I
cheat that. That comes with time.
and we should tell people that just because you got a college degree doesn't mean you know what you're doing. You got to get the
Yeah,
experience, you got to get the exposure, and you got to get a way of working that people trust you, and then
absolutely.
you'll get everything done. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. So I just finish with 5 closing questions. These can be quick answers.
Yeah.
So the first one is, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind?
I think it was always my grandmother arriving at Christmas with a trunk full of presents, which were
Love
little cheap things because she didn't have any money, but it was excited. I mean, literally.
it. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
What do you think's currently the biggest burden on mental health in society?
I would say fear and anxiety over uh, insecurity.
Mm.
I'm worried about my health. I'm worried about my wife. I'm worried about my job. the world is pretty fragile.
Yeah.
You can get in trouble very quickly. And so I would say be aware that it's an issue and it can happen to anybody at any time. And don't think you're somebody it can't happen to. I thought I was. I thought I was like, that'll never happen. But a personal thing, bam, I got it. And all the business problems and all that doesn't bother me a bit. But you don't know what's going to trigger it for you. It's easy. And worry about things often that are not going to even be a problem, but we worry about them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. What's your personal definition of happiness?
Well, I would say today, my wife hasn't left me and nobody's in rehab. So the family's doing well. And literally, and everybody finds this out, health.
Yeah.
Your health. If you're healthy and you're happy, you got all you need. Because I know a lot of very rich people that are lost their health, and it'll be the biggest regret you have. That's why I have a trainer twice a week. We do strength, agility, and balance, and I watch what I eat. And and I told you I'm 80 years old now, and I need to be because I need to take care of my wife. If we were both walking around here with a walker, we would be in trouble. But it's you got to look after yourself.
Amazing advice there. What if you could give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self? What would that be?
I would say don't underestimate what you can do. And probably don't underestimate the influence you have every day with people.
Yeah.
You have influence. Be careful what you say and do. People are judging you. They're watching you. We don't realize that. We're getting judged all day long.
Yeah. That's great. Well, final one. What are you most proud of?
I would say certainly I'm proud of my family because how many people make it 55 years? I have a very successful son. He's a good man. He's got good values. I have 3 grandkids, and they're all just doing great. And, that's it. At the end of the day, it'll be family because nobody cares what your title is. Nobody cares what you did. Nobody cares how much money you have. And most of your happiness will be within a happy family. And we're having my birthday party in a week. A month late because everybody's coming in, and that'll be the highlight. I look more forward to seeing my grandkids than anything in the world.
That's beautiful.
I mean,
it's so important.
So if I'm anxiety free, I'll even be happier.
Yeah, if we can avoid that, then exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, thank you again for making the time. Where can our listeners go if they want to learn more about the work you're doing?
Everything I do is at leecockerell.com. And by the way, we've got our 500th podcast coming up.
Wow.
And we're going to do it live. And you can go to leecockerell.com/500 if you want to be on that day. We're going to do it live. We've never missed a Tuesday for 10 years.
Oh my, wow, that's inspiring, mate. That gives me inspiration with this. That's incredible. I'll tune into that as well. So anyone listening, make sure we'll have it in the show notes, the details. Click on the links and check it out. But 500, wow, that's incredible.
It is. And no matter how you do it, you just schedule it and you schedule the priorities in your life and they will happen.
Yeah. You just stick to it. You just make it happen regardless of what gets thrown at you.
We do. So great to meet you, Nick.
Great to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lee Cockerell, for joining me today and offering your insights. And thanks for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode and any suggestions for topics you'd like to hear about. Feel free to leave a comment or just send me a DM. I always appreciate your feedback. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram. It really makes a difference. Thank you so much.